Hello and welcome to this video on accessing and completing your pre-assessment. To access the online pre-assessment, you need to log into the Bord Bia Horticulture Producer page using your Bord Bia generated username and password. If you are not yet comfortable in logging in, check out the how-to videos link on the Horticulture Producer page at hort.bordbia.ie, where you can watch videos that cover logging in and finding your way around the home and risk assessment pages. Once you are logged in, click on the Online Assessments link on the second panel. On the Assessments page, go to the Risk Assessment panel and click on your Risk Assessment Pre-Assessment. Before you can start any of your risk assessments, you must first complete this pre-assessment. The first time you access the pre-assessment, you will be asked to read and tick that you understand a particular disclaimer, and then the pre-assessment questionnaire will load. Anytime you access this pre-assessment subsequently, you will simply be brought to the pre-assessment page, as shown. Once in the pre-assessment form, you will see that there are a series of short questions designed to assess the risk rating of your process based on the crop type, and to identify sections of the risk assessment that might not be applicable to your site or production process. The idea of this assessment is to reduce the length of your risk assessments by automatically removing sections that do not apply to your process. The questions cover elements of your production process that are relevant to each of the hygiene, water, and environmental risk assessments. You will have to input some text, check boxes, select the relevant answers from drop-down lists as follows. So, for example, question 1.1 is selecting the crop type. Simply select your crop type from the drop-down menu. You can do that for each of your subsequent crops until you have all crops listed. Enter your DAFM registration number and any other certification or registration numbers that apply to your site. Select relevant answers from drop-down lists. Here in relation to livestock or poultry production on your site and on neighbouring sites. Answer yes or no questions. For example, are you a registered organic producer? Yes or no. If yes, you will be asked to select which particular schemes apply. If no, those will disappear. If you use substrate in growing activities, yes or no. Then you will be asked to complete sections for fertilizers, substrates, composts, or manures used on site, whether they're stored and whether they're used, and if so, which particular type. Again, a similar thing in relation to inorganic fertilizers, storage and use of, and pesticides and post-harvest treatments. Again, it's simply selecting a yes or no. Or drop-down lists in relation to harvesting. Simply select the answer from the list that is relevant to your particular crop and process. Your questions in relation to water and irrigation on your site. A yes or no answer, and then if it's yes, you'll be asked to indicate the source of the water. There'll be a number of options. If you do not see the option that relates to your site listed, you can simply select Other and input it into the box underneath. Where you see the information button, if you hover over it, this will give you further clarification on the context or meaning of this particular question. Here it is in relation to allergens, and it just gives you a definition of what allergens are, so you can determine whether this question applies to your site or not. Once you have completed all of the questions, you'll be asked to read the user declaration, which simply confirms that all the details given above are correct to the best of your knowledge, and that you understand that the risk assessment information must be updated upon any change. So, for example, a change in produce, if you add crops to your scope, or if you have a change in activity, or for example, a water source, a new water source that you haven't used before. Anything that might affect the food safety hazards associated with the farm. Once you've read that, tick the box to say that you've read it and understand it, and you are now ready to submit your questionnaire. Once your questionnaire has been successfully submitted, a dialog box will appear that simply states each of the hazards that have been automatically marked as not applicable in your risk assessments. You hit OK, and then you will be brought to the page where you can either start new risk assessments or edit or continue existing ones. So you are now ready to move on to your risk assessments.